The village stood cloaked in mist. Ancient whispers seemed to emanate from the cobblestone streets. An old house perched atop a hill loomed over the village. Its stone walls were grey and weathered. The windows, like vacant eyes, stared out at the world. This was the house that Zoe and her daughter Nina had come to call home. They arrived on a crisp autumn day, their car struggling up the winding road. Hope filled their hearts, but a shiver of unease ran down their spines as they stepped out of the car. The house had an unsettling aura. It felt heavy, burdened.
This is it, Nina. Our new beginning.
Nina, clutching her teddy bear, managed a small smile. The house, despite its eerie facade, represented a fresh start for them. They stepped inside, unaware of the darkness that awaited them within those ancient walls. Days turned into weeks. Zoe and Nina settled into their new home. The unease, however, lingered. The house, with its creaky floors and whispering walls, seemed to hold secrets of its own. One afternoon, Nina, exploring the house's dusty corners, stumbled upon the attic door. It was a door she hadn't noticed before, almost as if it had appeared out of nowhere. It was hidden behind a tattered tapestry, its edges frayed and worn with age. Curiosity got the better of her. She hesitated for a moment, her hand hovering over the doorknob before finally pushing it open. The door creaked open, releasing a musty smell that hinted at years of neglect. The air was thick with dust, making her cough slightly. The attic was dark and filled with cobwebs. Shadows danced on the walls, creating eerie shapes that seemed to move on their own. As Nina stepped inside, a cold gust of wind slammed the door shut. She jumped back, startled, her heart racing. The sudden noise echoed in the confined space. Panic surged through her as she realized she was trapped. The door, now slightly ajar, seemed to mock her. She fumbled for the doorknob, her hands trembling. It wouldn't budge, no matter how hard she tried. Trapped. Nina's eyes darted around the room, finally settling on a wooden chest tucked away in a corner. It looked ancient, covered in dust and cobwebs. She cautiously approached it, her heart pounding in her chest. Each step felt like an eternity. Inside, she found a tarnished silver cross and a leather-bound diary. The cross felt cold in her hand, and the diary seemed to pulse with a life of its own. It spoke of a curse, a plague, and a year, 1347. The more she read, the more she felt a connection to the past, as if the diary was speaking directly to her. That night the house came alive. Shadows danced on the walls. Whispers seemed to slither from the very walls. Nina lay in bed, her eyes wide with terror. Objects moved inexplicably. Doors creaked open and slammed shut. A cold, unseen presence filled the air.
Mom! Mom!
Nina screamed for her mother, her voice raw with fear. Zoe rushed to her daughter's side, her heart pounding in her chest.
It's okay, Nina.
But deep down, a chill ran down her spine. She couldn't shake off the feeling that something was terribly wrong. The house was not just old, it was haunted. The shadows, the whispers, the inexplicable events, it all pointed towards a dark secret lurking within the house's heart. Zoe held Nina close, determined to protect her daughter from whatever evil was lurking in the shadows. Driven by a mother's fierce love and a growing sense of dread, Zoe delved into the history of their new home. She spent countless hours in the local library, poring over ancient texts and faded maps. The diary's cryptic entries became her guide. She discovered that the village had been ravaged by the Black Death in 1347. Thousands perished, their cries for mercy swallowed by the relentless plague. The house, she learned, had belonged to the village priest. He had desperately tried to save his people, performing exorcisms and offering prayers, but the plague was merciless. It spared no one, not even the priest. Zoe's blood ran cold as she read about the priest's last days. He had been a broken man, blaming himself for the village's demise. In his final hours, he had cursed the house, trapping his tormented soul within its walls. The Pope's Curse. As Zoe dug deeper into the dusty archives, she unearthed an even more horrifying truth that had been buried for centuries. The village priest, whose name was Father Anselm, had been a close confidant of Pope Clement VI, who reigned during the devastating period of the Black Death. Clement, terrified of the relentless plague that was sweeping across Europe, had sought the priest's counsel in desperation. In a gesture of trust and gratitude, He had even gifted Father Anselm a silver cross, a powerful symbol of his papal authority and divine protection. But Father Anselm, overwhelmed by despair and anger as he watched his parishioners succumb to the plague, had cursed the cross in a moment of profound anguish. He blamed Pope Clement for not doing enough to stop the plague, believing that the papacy's inaction had doomed his village to a terrible fate. The once thriving village had been reduced to ruins, its buildings decaying and its streets eerily silent, a testament to the devastation wrought by the plague. In his final act of defiance and sorrow, the priest bound his soul to the cursed cross, trapping himself and a piece of Pope Clement's spirit within the walls of the house. This double curse, fueled by the priest's deep anguish and the Pope's paralyzing fear, had plunged the house into an eternal darkness, making it a place of torment and unrest. Zoe realized with a shiver that the haunting they were experiencing wasn't just the priest's doing. It was the combined torment of two souls, forever bound by the tragic events of 1347, their pain echoing through the ages. And facing the phantom pontiff. Armed with this knowledge, Zoe knew she had to confront the spirits. She had spent countless nights researching and preparing herself for this moment. The time had come to face her fears head on. She couldn't let them terrorize her and Nina any longer. The haunting had taken a toll on both of them, and Zoe was determined to put an end to it once and for all. One night, as the ghostly apparitions reached their peak, Zoe climbed the creaking stairs to the attic. Each step echoed through the silent house, amplifying her resolve. The air grew colder with each step. A chilling mist seemed to rise from the floor, wrapping around her like icy tendrils. Whispers swirled around her, chilling her to the bone. They were unintelligible, yet filled with a sense of urgency and despair. The attic door stood ajar, as if beckoning her in. It creaked open further as she approached, revealing the darkness within. She entered, her heart pounding in her chest. The room was ice cold, and her breath formed visible puffs in the frigid air. The silver cross glowed eerily in the darkness. It was the only source of light, casting long, haunting shadows on the walls. And then she saw him, a figure emerging from the shadows, his presence both commanding and terrifying. A ghostly figure materialized before her. His form was translucent, yet his presence was overwhelmingly real. He wore the papal robes and crown of Pope Clement VI. The details of his attire were eerily accurate, as if he had stepped out of a history book. The intensity of his gaze sent shivers down Zoe's spine. The priest's spirit was there too, his skeletal hand clutching the Pope's arm. The sight was both horrifying and mesmerizing. Their forms flickered and swirled, a terrifying vortex of spectral energy. The room seemed to pulse with their combined power, and Zoe knew she was facing a force unlike any other. Breaking the curse, Zoe stood her ground. Fear threatened to consume her, but she fought it back. She knew that the spirits fed off her fear. She had to be strong, for Nina's sake and her own.
You are trapped here. Your pain, your anger, it ends now.
The spirits lunged, their spectral forms swirling around her like a chilling wind. She closed her eyes, clutching the silver cross she had found in the attic.
By the power of good, I break this curse.
The cross grew warm in her hand, then hot. A blinding light erupted from it, filling the attic with an unbearable radiance. The spirits shrieked, their forms twisting and writhing in the light. Silence descended upon the attic. The air, once heavy with dread, felt lighter, cleaner. The ghostly apparitions were gone, vanished into the ether.
Oh, thank God, it's over.
Zoe collapsed to her knees, the silver cross falling from her grasp. She lay there for a moment, catching her breath, her body still trembling from the encounter.
I can't believe we made it through that.
When she finally stood up, the attic seemed different. The oppressive darkness was gone, the whispers had ceased.
It's so quiet now.
The air felt still, peaceful. Zoe returned to Nina, who had slept soundly through the ordeal. As she hugged her daughter tight, she vowed to never let anything harm her again.
I promise, sweetie. Nothing will ever hurt you again.
The curse was broken, the spirits were gone, and their new beginning could finally truly begin. In the aftermath, life took on a semblance of normalcy. The nightmares ceased. The shadows stopped dancing, the whispers faded into silence.
Nina, let's make this house our own.
Zoe and Nina focused on making the house their own. Laughter filled the rooms once haunted by fear. Zoe repainted the walls in bright, cheerful colors. Nina's toys lay scattered across the floor, a testament to their newfound happiness. They never spoke of that night again. The memory, though still vivid, was buried deep within their hearts.
Mommy, look! I made a castle with my blocks!
However, Zoe couldn't shake off the feeling that something remained. It wasn't a menacing presence, not anymore. It was more like an echo, a whisper of what once was. And it seemed to emanate from the attic. The attic door remained closed, a silent sentinel guarding the secrets it held. Zoe had considered opening it, airing it out, perhaps even turning it into a playroom for Nina, but something held her back. It was as if the attic itself was urging her to let it be, to keep its secrets locked away. Maybe it's better this way. Some doors are best left unopened. The village too seemed to have undergone a subtle shift. The oppressive atmosphere that had clung to its ancient streets had lifted. The villagers, once wary of the house on the hill, now greeted Zoe and Nina with warm smiles. Life went on, but the legend of the haunted house and the curse of 1347 continued to be whispered in hushed tones.
Good day, Zoe. Nina, lovely to see you both.
It became a tale passed down through generations, a reminder of the darkness that had once gripped their land and the bravery of a mother who had faced it head-on. And so, the house on the hill stood as a silent sentinel, a testament to the enduring power of fear, faith, and the enduring strength of the human spirit. The curse of 1347 might have been broken, but its memory lived on, a haunting reminder of the darkness that lay dormant beneath the surface of the world, waiting for the right moment to resurface. The attic door remained closed, its secrets undisturbed. And in the village below, life continued, forever touched by the curse of 1347. For more haunting tales, subscribe below.